Good evening and welcome to our first edition of the Wrongexit podcast. As you know, we have a large agency, a lot of moving parts, and tonight we're going to dive deep into a unit that does a lot of things that you don't necessarily see. But we have one of our specialized detectives with us this evening, Detective Jen Jakes. Jen, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Jen, how long have you been at the Martin County Sheriff's Office?
15 years.
15 years at the Martin County Sheriff's Office, and you're currently assigned to economic crimes. Can you tell us exactly what economic crimes is?
Economic crimes is anything to do with money, essentially. All the frauds involving money scams, money laundering, exploitations of the elderly, anything that has to do with frauds and scams, that's what we're on top of.
Is it safe to say that your unit represents the largest financial loss of all the crimes that take place in Martin County, to include bank robberies, jugging, regular thefts, petty thefts, organized thefts?
Yes.
So there's something concerning that I want to talk about tonight that is kind of alarming to me. And you and I have talked about it, but it's something that I never knew was possible. But you've told me that it is possible, if you own your house or your lot free and clear, that someone can steal it from you, can just take it from you.
I can.
Can you dive into that and start explaining how that process works? And I know it's some of the answers will be wordy, but we'll try to get through it.
So what essentially deed or title theft is someone fraudulently taking legal ownership of your property by following fictitious or counterfeit quitclaim deeds, posing as the owner of the property.
So we've had a couple of these incidents here in Martin County in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
We had one, actually, my neighbor's lot that was stolen. Can we kind of talk through that case and show how alarming it was?
Sure. In late 2022, we got a report from the victim who owns that piece of property, who she got a phone call from an attorney with a title company, who said that he had a client who recently purchased her property from someone who was posing as her husband. All of the transactions and all of the communication occurred online. The person who purchased the property, his client, found it on Zillow. He reached out to who was posing as the property owner via the listing phone number and email address that was on that listing. Got in contact with them, told him he was interested in the property. He told him he was stuck in New Jersey and not able to come down to Florida to do all the paperwork, but said that if the title company sent them the paperwork via email to him up there in New Jersey, he would get it notarized and signed while he was up there, and filed electronically, essentially. So they did just that. They sent the paperwork to him via email. He signed the documents, again, posing as the actual owner of that property, put a fake notary stamp on it, and then sent it to the title company. Title company looks at it, looks legitimate, moves forward with the sale. The client wires $320,000 for that property to the wiring instructions that were on the documents, and believes that he's the owner of this property now. Once the actual homeowner was notified, the lady who actually owns it, she was like, no, my property was not ever listed for sale. That was not me. And that's how it came to, to our attention. These cases are tough because there's two victims, essentially. You have the victim who is now paying a mortgage, that $320,000 mortgage on a property who he believed or he thought was his, and then the actual property owner who, that was never for sale, that's mine.
So whose is it at that point?
Technically, it's the person who purchased the property. She got it back, I will tell you that. The actual owner did get it back, but it came with a headache and a lot of paperwork and a lot of time because she had to hire an attorney and file documents with the clerk's office to get all of that reversed, essentially.
So everybody in the middle, the mortgage company, the bank that wired the finances, Zillow, obviously, that's a public-facing website. Everybody in that is legit except for the one individual that disguised who they were. And I think they did that through fake passports, right? That's how they legitimized who they were.
Not in this case, but
Not in
there
this case.
there was another
You're
case
right,
where they
you're
did
right.
that. Yeah. In this case, right, he was the only, bad actor, for lack of better words, in the whole thing.
So if somebody has a mortgage on their house or their lot, you can't steal that through this same mechanism, right? It's not possible.
Correct. It's typically these cases are based off of properties that are vacant or lots that are vacant that are paid for.
Paid for, and I know in both of our cases here they were empty lots, and you explained to me the reason why they chose empty lots is because the realtor, and there was a realtor, and we'll get to that here in a second, but there was a realtor in one of these cases who thought they were showing a legitimate piece of property and only to find out that it wasn't, but they prefer lots
Right.
because lots are easy to show.
Correct.
As opposed to going into a house that's vacant.
Right. Well, if you're sitting in your house and you see someone walking up your driveway, like, what's going on? You're going to question that. If you're not there to see anybody walking around your property, you're more likely to get away with it.
So in our first case, they lost $325,000. What's our success rate in pulling back the $325,000 once we realized that there's a loss?
In this case, I wasn't able to pull any of it back.
Gone
Gone.
forever.
Gone forever.
And so that money was transferred, we know, to New Jersey, and then from there, it's just gone. We don't know where it goes to.
Well, in these cases, what we do is we follow the money.
Right.
And the money went to an account in the name of a business out of somewhere in the Northeast. That woman who owned that business was wrapped up in a romance scam. So she thought that she was getting that money from her overseas boyfriend that she met online, and started sending the money out, wiring the money out in Bitcoin and in cashier's checks to people who she thought was, working for this boyfriend she met online. So it was a scam wrapped up in another scam.
So our second case that happened in the southern end of Martin County, really high-end piece of property, that one was saved. There was no victim because it didn't play all the way through. And the way that was stopped was a realtor who had been contracted, and this was a fake ID. She was contacted by someone with fake IDs, they're actually passports, that said that they own a piece of property. Could you please list it? So in this case, we had a realtor from a legitimate real estate company that tried to go into a gated community, and then the guard called the owner of the property to say, hey, can this person come to your property? And at that point, he says, what? It's not for sale?
Right. They're like, what are you talking about? That property's not for sale.
So what do we do with that? We had to piece that back and figure out exactly what was going on.
Yeah, so in that case, I reached out to the realtor to find out who had hired them. It was, again, like you said, they were fraudulent, counterfeit passports. But yeah, you just work it backwards to try to figure out, where it's deriving from. Luckily, in that case, like you said, there was no property loss, there's no monetary loss. Nobody was at a loss in that case. But it was because, luckily, the landowner got a phone call.
So in both of these cases, they communicated through strictly email, or was it a combination of email and IP voice over addresses? I'm not sure if I said that correctly.
Voice over IP.
Voice over IP.
Phone numbers. Right. Those are internet-based phone numbers. And yes, but they also communicated with them on the phone. They spoke to them on the phone in both these cases, mostly via email, however.
So, Detective, this conversation is super complex and intriguing. We're going to take a short break, and in a few minutes, we'll get back on this.
I'm Deputy Colin Corley, and here's my rapid fire.
Coffee or soda?
Coffee.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Favorite pizza topping?
Pepperoni.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Country or rock?
Rock.
Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Text or call?
Call.
Sweet or salty?
Sweet.
Steak or chicken?
Chicken.
Amazon or Target?
Amazon.
Desktop or laptop?
Laptop.
Plane or train?
Train.
Pool or hot tub?
Pool.
And that's your rapid fire.
Well, welcome back to the Wrong Exit. And again, we're here with Detective Jakes, who's been explaining something that is extremely complex and quite frankly alarming to me, where you can lose your property. It can be stolen from you and you're none the wiser. And I had a couple follow-up questions from our first segment, Detective. I know we highlighted how this fraud takes place, but I think the question that everybody wants to know the answer to is there a way to prevent this fraud from taking place where we can sleep easy, rest easy at night, not having to worry about these scammers taking our valuable piece of property?
I don't think there's a way to prevent it. However, there are options for homeowners. Our clerk's office, and I know many of them across the state of Florida, has fraud alert systems where you can give your email address, your phone number, and if any document is filed related to your name or your address, you will get notification of that. Also, just being vigilant and paying attention to the records on the clerk's office website, getting on there and checking from time to time and making sure that everything is still legitimate in your name where it's supposed to be. Another big thing is if you start receiving odd things in the mail, things relative to property sales or, realtors or something like that, pay attention to that. A lot of people are like, what, that's not for me, and throw it in the trash can. But pay attention to it because it could be something more serious like this. And if it is, contact us at the sheriff's office and let us know so that we can start digging into that.
We touched on it earlier. The money that was transacted in our first case, the $325,000, where do we think the money went?
So, like I said, the money went to an account in the name of a business that was owned in the Northeast. I can't remember exactly what state it was. The elderly female owner of that business was involved in a romance scam with someone, online. The person she was speaking to was overseas and told her that money was going to be coming into her account and that he needed her to move it for him. So she was essentially laundering the money for the bad guy who's in another country. She sent it off via cashier's checks and Bitcoin to whoever he told her to, and depleted it. It was all gone. There was nothing left.
So once the money was wired into her account, he just started hounding her to withdraw it and send it overseas in different forms.
Right.
And she was an accomplice, but an unknown accomplice. She didn't know what she was doing was illegal. You mentioned the romance scam. Just dive into that for a minute. I know that's a complex scam, but can you explain that?
It's huge. There's a lot of people that are victimized by it. And it's not just romance. We call it a romance scam, but it's even a friendship. It's just any sort of relationship that you form with somebody online that you haven't met in person, who asks you to start moving money or doing anything financial for them. That's a sign that that's, not who you think it is, and it's a bad guy, for lack of better words. But they feed off of emotion. They, want to get you hooked and be friendly with you, and then they start asking you to do these things for them. And us, and I hate to say it, but Americans are naive, and we believe the best from people. We expect the best from people, and unfortunately, these suspects are not in this country. They're in other countries.
Do they seem to target like the naive, lonely, the widow, the individual that's home alone, that doesn't have a family structure around them? Is there any rhyme or reason to that?
They do. They're lonely. Those people are lonely, and that's the common theme with all of my victims. They're lonely, and they're just looking for somebody to talk to. And they are thinking that they're forming this relationship, this bond with somebody, and they're thinking it's legitimate, and that's why they're doing these things. They just want to hold on to that bond. And even when we tell them, as detectives, me and my partners would tell them, hey, this is a scam. This is not who you think it is. They don't want to believe it, and they'll continue this relationship with this person and continue to move money for them, thinking it's legitimate. And sometimes I think they don't want to believe it. They want to keep it going the way it is because it's somebody to talk to. That's the common trend anyway. It's loneliness.
Imaginary people. Let's get back to the fraud that we're talking about at hand. There is a website, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but there's a website, Martin County website. You mentioned it. It's martincountyclerk.com, landmark web fraud alert. And any transaction, if you pull a permit or you do a title search or any transaction that takes place on your property, it'll automatically flag in that system, and they'll send you an email or a text and help you prevent these frauds from happening. Is there anything I missed with that?
No, that's accurate.
Complex things, but again, it's been a South Florida trend. There's a lot of money to be made and lost in this for these bad guys. Success rates of catching them are down because they're out of the country. It's hard to track them down. And a lot of times these scams happen, and it's a long period of time before law enforcement's actually alerted, before the victim realizes something's gone, before law enforcement comes into play, and then it just defeats our odds of actually making an arrest in this case.
Absolutely.
Even if we make an arrest, what are the odds of actually making the victim whole as far as recuperating the $325,000, putting it back in the pocket?
Yeah, very low odds.
Very low.
I mean, typically they're committing crimes, stealing money because they don't have it. So,
well, Detective, I know we have more to talk about. I'm going to take it to another break. and we'll be back here in a minute.
Hi, Deputy Israel Owens, Martin County Sheriff's Office. This is my rapid fire.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs for
Burgers or pizza?
pizza.
Sneakers or boots?
Sneakers.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Comedy or action?
Action.
Ice cream or cake?
Ice cream.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Football or baseball?
Football.
Weather hot or cold?
Hot.
Coffee or soda?
Coffee.
Shorts or jeans?
Jeans.
Snow skis or jet ski?
Snow ski.
Short hair or long hair?
Short.
Truck or car?
Truck.
So, Detective, what you've shared today is extremely insightful to all of us. How many scams, just from the top of your head, how many scams you think are out there right now that we're dealing with?
Ooh, hundreds.
Hundreds of scams.
Hundreds.
If you can think of it, they're doing it
Yes.
right here in Martin
absolutely.
County.
Yes.
And our success rate as far as running them down and putting them in jail is
Below.
pretty low because they're out of the country, other states.
Yeah.
You do a good job of just staying after them every day. So I talk often about we're one team, one fight here at the Martin County Sheriff's Office. I'm not the only one out here working, and Detective Jakes and her economic team, they're always behind the scenes. But they are representing the largest amounts of financial losses here in this county, and it's a niche job. It's extremely difficult. Difficult to charge, difficult to prosecute, difficult to go through the entire judicial system. And they do a fabulous job. Jen, thank you again for being here today
Thank you for having me.
and being on the team and taking care of business here for Martin County.
Qu'est-ce que soit, and this is my rapid fire.
Coffee or energy drink?
Any drinks?
Beach or mountains?
Beach,
Early bird or night owl?
night owl.
Ticket or warning?
Warning.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone,
Country or rock?
country,
Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix,
Sirens or stealth?
stealth,
Text or call?
call,
Favorite person in the room?
my lieutenant,
Sweet or salty?
sweet,
Steak or chicken?
steak,
Amazon or Target?
Amazon,
Desktop or laptop?
laptop,
Plane or train?
train,
Pool or hot tub?
hot tub.
Well, welcome back. I'm Sheriff John Budenseek, and we just got done going over frauds. We're going to pivot now over to crimes that have happened in the last couple of days. Specifically, I'm here watching a video of our K-9 unit and Road Patrol unit out doing their job last night. I'll give you a little background on this. A lady in South Stewart was sleeping, minding her own business in the privacy of her own home. And she heard a little rattling at the door, went to investigate. Lo and behold, this individual, who I'm watching get chewed on by a canine, was trying to enter her home while she was in there. Of course, she was frightened, called 911, got a good description. Road Patrol responded in rapid fashion, and along with our canine unit, set up a good perimeter. With that perimeter, they started a track, and that's where this video kicks in. They've tracked this individual now to a neighbor's house, another neighbor's house where this victim does not belong at. He, at that point, had gone onto their front porch and was hiding underneath one of the grill tarps, if that makes sense, and was non-compliant after several orders. And because of his non-compliance and because he was trying to victimize our residents here in Martin County, K-9 Corley deployed his dog, which made him compliant. So he was taken into custody after a brief trip to the hospital to get some puncture wounds looked at. He was taken into custody. Nobody was hurt except for him. And our residents of South Stewart are safer now that this individual is off the street. So moving on to a burglary that we talked about last week, actually quite a fascinating burglary. It was a rooftop burglary at the Treasure Coast Mall where an individual or a group of individuals, we're still investigating that, cut a hole through the concrete material on the roof, cut all the way down into the Champ shoe store and stole between 400 and 500 pairs of shoes. And they put that back up through the hole in the roof. Somehow they offloaded it onto the ground, loaded it in a type of vehicle. We're still working on that, and we're off. We were offended by that. And we have a great group of detectives who have been assigned that case. They have been working on that nonstop since it took place. And I look forward to being back probably on this podcast, certainly on the media, letting you know the progress that we have made as a result of that case. Welcome back. This is Sheriff John Budenseek. And as we wrap up tonight, I want to kind of transition to something a little lighter while the job function is serious. We had a special visitor here to the sheriff's office today, which I was floored by, and that was an otter. An otter that is trained to identify individuals who may be submerged in water. Of course, on the heavier side, the darker side, unfortunately, in the state of Florida, we have a lot of water. And we have a lot of victims that go into the water, and we are constantly utilizing our resources, our dogs, our boats, side scan sonar, divers, and really the list goes on of resources that we utilize to try to find individuals who've gone missing on us. But this otter came in and is especially trained to go in its own habitat and identify things that are anomalies in that habitat. And it was fascinating. Listen to the instructor tell us how he taught the otter to do what it does, and then we will be utilizing that otter here in Martin County as cases come our way. And it's a new tool that's potentially coming online in law enforcement. And as stated today, this is the first time in the nation it's been done. So we're looking forward again to being your Martin County Sheriff's Office because we stay cutting edge. We're always looking for the next best thing out there to keep our citizens safe here in Martin County. So as I wrap up, let me remind you, there's a lot of ways to communicate with us. We have our Martin County Sheriff's Office Facebook page. We put a lot of information on there. We tell you about crimes that have been committed. We tell you about scams, ways to avoid being victimized. So please follow us on there and pay attention, interact with us there. And then on a lighter side, we have our Instagram page where we show a lot of our deputies and their abilities. And then YouTube. This show will be going on YouTube. As we wrap up this first Wrong Exit piece, don't forget why we're the Wrong Exit. We have the best employees in the nation. We have the best law enforcement, corrections, and civilian staff in the nation. That's what makes us who we are. So until next time, stay safe. We'll see you next time on the Wrong Exit.